Let me thank Vice President J.D. Vance, who's doing a fantastic job.
As a Marine Corps veteran for my entire lifetime, presidents, and let's be honest, they were Democrats and Republicans, would send the American military to far-off places. They would get us involved in these endless quagmires. They would lose hundreds or thousands of American lives, and the American people would get nothing out of these misadventures. And now you have an American president who's empowered the American military to stop the flow of drugs into our country and to ensure that we, as opposed to our adversaries, control one of the great energy reserves that exist anywhere in the entire world. And he did it without losing a single American life in the process. It was an amazing operation. It's going to make our country richer. It's going to make our country more powerful. It's going to make our country safer. And it's going to lead to the decline, the further decline of drug overdose deaths in the United States of America. An amazing thing, and I'm happy to be here to talk about how we can make it an even bigger and better operation for the American people. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
3 young kids, a lot of people in my generation. What is that going on there? Is that normal? Okay. CNN installed this broken camera just to throw me off my game, but it's not going to work. So if you're a young parent struggling to afford childcare in the United States of America, there are programs that we have to make it easier for your kids to get in daycare, for your kids to get in preschool. Those programs should go to American citizens, not be defrauded by Somali immigrants and others. Make it hard for you to get the access to the resources you need. But number 2, making it easier for people who shouldn't even be in this country to fleece the United States and our taxpayers to begin with. We have actually activated a major interagency task force to make it possible to get to the heart of this fraud. We have Department of Agriculture resources that are focused on SNAP fraud so that people who need food benefits can get them, but illegal aliens and other fraudsters don't. We have over 1,500 subpoenas that the Department of Justice has issued to get to the heart of the fraud ring. We've done almost 100 indictments, mostly Somali immigrants, but also a few others. And of course, we're looking in with broad investigatory authority to a number of the instances of wrongdoing that we've seen in Minneapolis. But we also want to expand this. We know that the fraud isn't just happening in Minneapolis, it's also happening in states like Ohio. It's happening in states like California. And so what we're doing in order to help coordinate this remarkable interagency effort from the Trump administration, but also to make sure that we prosecute the bad guys and do it as swiftly and efficiently as possible, is we are creating a new Assistant Attorney General position who will have nationwide jurisdiction over the issue of fraud. Now, of course, that person's efforts will start and focus primarily in Minnesota, but it is going to be a nationwide effort because, unfortunately, the American people have been defrauded in a very nationwide way.
We don't persecute you for being male, for being straight, for being gay, for being anything. The only thing that we demand is that you be a great American patriot, and if you're that, you're very much on our team.
If the Democrats do win the midterms, is Trump getting impeached again?
I'm sure he'll get impeached. Look, they have nothing to actually run on or govern on. Their entire obsessive focus of that party is they hate Donald Trump. So if they ever get power, are they going to lower Americans' taxes? No. Are they going to make your life more affordable? No. Are they going to solve the crime crisis? No. What they're going to do is they're going to spend all their time and all of your money trying to get Donald Trump. I think it's ridiculous. That's what they're running on. But the American people are going to make this determination. I think the American people should vote for the people who want to make their life more affordable and want to make their neighborhoods safer. That's what we're trying to deliver every single day. I'm sorry, guys. What's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth. How have you let yourself become agents of propaganda of a radical fringe that's making it harder for us to enforce our laws? You just asked me a question that presumed that the reason why this woman died is because she was engaged in legitimate protest. She tried to run somebody over with her car, and the guy defended himself when that happened. The consistent fear that I hear is that there's still this perception that digital assets are not welcome in the mainstream economy, and let me promise you that our effort to change the policy is purely about changing that. We want our fellow Americans to know that crypto and digital assets, and particularly Bitcoin, are part of the mainstream economy and are here to stay.
Hey, it's me, and welcome to Trump Mafia. I want to talk about J.D. Vance, the vice president, and You know, if you really look at the cabinet now and the team, you see President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of War Hegseth, and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, and Scott Bessent as Treasury Secretary and Acting Commissioner of the IRS. What a team. You know, these five are really hot, and Secretary Noem is doing a great job, and many other cabinet members, but it's really those five that I feel are the core of the second Trump term. And so a lot of people are very pro Rubio, and in many ways online you can see it's not really organic. You know, you have people that are Trump haters suddenly praising Rubio, and you're like, hey, what's happening? The guy got confirmed 99-0, which means that all Democrats voted for him, so they know something. And I have to admit that Rubio is doing a good job, but that's only because he's a worker bee doing exactly what Trump wants, says exactly what Trump wants him to say, and you don't really know if there's another boss that he will completely change, because we are talking about somebody who even became a Mormon when he was out in Utah because he wanted to get ahead. Then he moved to Florida, then he's suddenly a Catholic because he thought it would help him to get ahead. So will the real Rubios please stand up, because we can't see you, you're down on the floor. Even when he stands up, it's like, where are you, man? Step on that little box there so we can all see you. And he was Rubio, the darling of Congress and the darling of Romney and the Bush family. He was in the amnesty group of 8, and then he challenged President Trump. So he's not a MAGA original, but neither was J.D. Vance. But there's a difference here, and that's really what I want to talk about in this little commentary. The difference is that J.D. Vance has the it factor. You know, he doesn't come off as a worker bee. He comes off as someone who has something special, something we don't see with other people, and that's what you had with Trump also. And he really does a great job in the media, in a Trumpian way, you could say, and maybe later we'll call it the Vancian way. He's really fantastic, right? Vance-tastic, I would say. But Rubio seems to me like he could be a rhino at any point. If you change the boss, let's say, just imagine this extreme impossibility. Rotten DeSantis becomes president and Rubio is the VP, or, you know, some cabinet position. He would just be another Bushy, another rhino that we saw in the past, you know, in the John McCain way, or the Trey Gowdy way, which means not conservative at all. But with J.D. Vance, you see somebody that wasn't on board with President Trump, but he kind of took that endorsement that he got from Trump when he was running for the Senate. And I remember on Patreon, I was telling people, okay, let's see this guy land this plane, right? All he has to do is land the plane now in a good way, because he was really behind. And he ended up just coming out, and he was just so perfect. Not in a polished way, but, you know, in a way that is special. And he not only landed that plane, but he earned the respect of MAGA. And so you fast forward, he became VP, but even as a VP, he's not a Pence type, because you have to remember, Pence was also like a loyal sidekick for all those years, but then his true face came out, and he was a Trump hater the whole time, and a tool for the Bush family, the rhinos, and that's what I see with Rubio, but I don't see that with J.D. Vance. Now you have the communists and the fake conservatives talking about J.D. Vance being very close to the VC people. Uh, the oligarchs, right? Steve Bannon is out there sounding like Bernie Sanders and the AOC, talking about the evil oligarchs of the tech industry. Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, and they're so evil and they're rich and they're making too much money, something like that, right? Real eat the rich kind of stuff. Even Laura Loomer was getting in on that, trying to get on the war room, and it's kind of pathetic. I mean, these people sound like communists. Well, you don't like capitalism. Like, I don't like Mark Zuckerberg, but at the same time, I have to acknowledge that the guy changed also. Mark Zuckerberg did change, and he's trying very hard. And, you go with the times, I guess, if you're in the high tech, because next thing you know, the government's after you, trying to break up your company, or at some point the Soros people wanted Mark Zuckerberg replaced as CEO of his own company, and he was really afraid of that. But in the end, you have to understand, you have the oil barons, you have the tech oligarchs, and okay, great. You have rich people, you have monopolies, you have big businesses, and they do have an influence. But when it comes to J.D. Vance, he was a VC guy, and, I can speak to that. Not all VC people are bad. And it's kind of like a leftist trope, where if you're a VC or you're a capitalist, you're somehow evil, greedy, and I think that's part of the reason why they attacked J.D. Vance. But then you have the other wing, where you have J.D. Vance being painted as some kind of an anti-Semitic or an Israel hater, which is of course not true, but that's because he's friends with Tucker, who's a leftist, obviously. But even Trump calls him a very conservative guy, and I don't know what that means, but these Trump haters that are pro-Israel, because this whole fight on social media, it's basically a fight between Trump haters that like Israel and Trump haters that hate Israel. Many of them are fake conservatives, by the way. I always feel like if you hate Trump, you cannot be a conservative, because the way he's reducing taxes, getting rid of regulations, all of that, it's all very conservative, more conservative than Reagan by a factor of 10. But okay, as an aside, really, a little rant, but the point being is that J.D. Vance is somehow expected to cancel half of the MAGA coalition, because then when he runs for president, it's much harder for him to win. So that is the real reason why they're trying to force him to abandon a lot of factions and different people, and it's not going to work. So J.D. Vance is keeping the options open, because President Trump has taken in Tucker Carlson and a lot of other people that are part of the MAGA coalition. And yeah, we know they're leftists, but in the end, they're not as bad as the woke left, the ultra-fascists, the green and blue-haired people, and the wokeness, the virus, really, the fascist virus out there, the crazy LGBTQ hordes that have started to now engage in domestic terrorism, as you can see. Every time, right? It seems to be part of that whole group. And that's not, I wouldn't call Tucker a fan of the LGBTQ people. But then again, he's praising Islam and attacking Christianity. You have a lot of fake Catholics out there. Candace Owens, Jack Boot Poland Beach, or whatever his name is, somehow saying he's an ultra Catholic. He's so Catholic that he doesn't even believe in the Bible. That's insane, right? It's like Bannon, he does the same. Ooh, this guy is so ultra conservative, he doesn't even believe in capitalism. And he's a Leninist. That's how conservative he is. Yeah, sell that to the dummies online, but in the real world, that doesn't make any sense. But J.D. Vance has that Americanism, the pro-capitalist part of him that a lot of leftists hate, but then he also has a common sense approach, and he is aware of the problems that you have in Europe, the censorship, the mass migration. I don't know, like my dad used to say, he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's a person that grows, kind of like a snowball rolling down the hill. He just becomes bigger, better. Or like wine, he ages, he becomes more valuable. With Rubio, it's kind of like the same thing, right? He just has that worker bee thing. And okay, it's good, but for Marco Rubio to reach higher, he will need a box to stand on, or a ladder, or in my view, he kind of reached his peak. Just like I feel Rotten DeSantis, or the Santard as I call him, over there, governor of Florida, I think that's his peak. I don't see that guy being president, but look, you saw a dementia patient like Biden being president. It is possible, but then other people are really running the show. And that's what you would get with the Santard. It would be another Bush-type clan running everything, and Santard will be out there as a clown, a tool. And the same with Marco Rubio. But that's why they like these people. The deep state wants puppets like that. Judas Benz, Marco, Rotten DeSantis, these people are not special. But J.D. Vance is special. And that's why I go with my feeling, my gut instinct on the thing. It's really true. And so I'm not going to be out here dedicating online to J.D. Vance, but I'm telling you, right now, as things stand, he's the one. He's 48. I have no doubt about it.